So once again, welcome. Today, we are going to do the workshop on crafting effective questionnaires, and it's for PhD students of ISBAT University and other members. So welcome on board George Eben, Ronald, and Bambira Ben Moses. Others, they also can join. So I'm going to start the workshop. Now, in this workshop, if you want to interact with me, you can interact as well. There is no problem. So you can raise your hand and then you can interact. Okay. So let's look for today's agenda. Today, what we are going to do, I hope you can see my screen properly, isn't it?
Yes, we can.
All right. So in today's agenda, we are going to get an introduction how to design a questionnaire. Then we will see how a research questionnaire is related to the research objectives, hypotheses, and the variables. Because many times people fail to understand the role of a questionnaire in association with the objectives and hypotheses. Then we are going to see different types of questions. Then we are going to see how to write effective questions. So we are going to put a sample research. Based on that sample research, we will see how we can write effective questions. Then we will see how to structure the questionnaires. That is also important because structuring the questionnaire is also very important because even you identify things, it is good if you can see how to structure the questionnaires. I hope the agenda is clear for you all because it is a big session. So I don't want to put it as a big session. That is why I'm making it as a small session. All right. Now, so let's start. You know, questionnaires, basically, they have a purpose. Questionnaires are made for collecting your data. And we can say that they are the most powerful tools of your research. If you fail to make a powerful tool, what will happen? You will not reach your destination. So it is very important how far we have done up to now, starting from framing your research question to your hypothesis and setting your research methodology. It is very important to move with all these things to drive in full throat. You need powerful tool. That is your questionnaires or your survey methods, how you collect data. So, you know, the questionnaires are used to collect data. So they are the powerful tools to collect data. And if you have a proper data, you can do proper analysis, proper interpretation. So it's very important how questionnaires have significant role in the life of a researcher. If your questionnaires are good, your life is good. If your questionnaires are bad, your life will be bad at the time of the defense viva, and you will spoil the life of your statistician because your statistician to do analysis and interpretation for your objectives and hypotheses, definitely he has to go for different types of analysis. That is why sometimes, you know, we can see in certain researches, complex analytics comes just because the questionnaires are not properly done. But some research needs complex analytics. But to sum up what I have to tell you, if you don't have that powerful tool, then life will become hard for a researcher. So that is why this workshop is so significant. And we are going to see in the future, in the forthcoming session or forthcoming presentations of our workshop, how we can do an effective questionnaire. Now we are going to talk about the key principles of questionnaire design because it is like building a system, building or creating a system in which you are going to collect proper data. It is more important. It is as important like you frame up your questionnaire, how you frame up your hypothesis and every method. So every component of the research process Every stage of the research process is very important. So we are going to see the key principles of the research questionnaire design. The first thing, clarity. Because don't ask clear and unambiguous questions. Sometimes I used to see when we watch some television interviews, especially in some news channels, sometimes a question may be asked like, do you agree that your family knows that you are mad? See the question. Do you know that your family knows that you are mad? So if you say yes or if you say no, ultimately you are mad. So you know what I mean. When we make questions, there should be a purpose and it should be very clear. And don't make question of your wish or will, so that at any point of time, the respondent will give the answer what you need. Sometimes researchers think that one, I need to extract this answer from my respondent. Don't do like that. Your questions has to be very clear. And your respondent should understand what you are intending through the question. So if you put a complex jargon, if you put complex questions, if you use sort of technical language, complex terminologies, some people use abbreviations. So all these things, maybe your respondent does not want to tell you that I don't know this jargon, I can understand. No, he'll just tick something, or he may avoid that part of the data, which is very crucial. So it's very important. Your question should be simple, clear, and should deliver a proper communication. What you're asking, they should get it properly. Next thing, validity. See, it's an important factor, because if you are what you are trying to get from the question, are you going to measure an attitude? Are you going to quantify a data? Are you going to see the feeling or emotions? So many things you have to make sure. You have to make sure that your questionnaire is getting a data what you really need to get, because otherwise your respondent will not properly understand that what you are asking and will not give you a proper reply. Sometimes the researchers use always a same pattern of options for the respondent: highly satisfied, less satisfied, average, more satisfied, highly satisfied. This cannot be applied for all kind of questions. So you have to make sure, don't give choices, don't structure your questions for the sake of structuring a question. Sometimes it becomes like a monotonous activity. Anyway, I'm doing my research, I have to collect data, so I need some kind of inputs for my respondent to get the data. No, it will not work properly. We are going to see these ones with proper examples in the forthcoming part of this workshop. Next one, reliability. What is reliability? If you are giving a questionnaire to one person or 100 people or 10,000 people, any number in any part of the population, you should get a consistency and stability over your response. So that is more important. You cannot say that I'm using in city 1, when you move to city 2, the understanding of the people is different, so they are not able to input properly. So reliability is an important factor, because for that, to make reliable questions, we have to use standardized question formats. We have to give clear instructions, and we should permit with choices for the respondents in a consistent response options. So what I'm trying to say here, when you design a questionnaire, it is not an easy thing, because we are going to see further, because your questionnaire is the powerful tool, or it is the thing, it is the guiding thing that makes you the next part of your research. So you have done half of your mission appropriately, your good job, well done. But if you fail to make a proper questionnaire, that good job well done is good. So that is why it should have clarity, validity, reliability. Now you'll ask me how we can know all these things, whether my questionnaire is clear, whether my questionnaire is valid, whether it has reliability. So we can do that one. I'm coming to that one, that we can do pilot testing. We'll discuss that one. Next one, when you ask certain question, it is specific to individuals' emotions, or it is specific to certain individual. Sometimes people don't want to disclose that. There are many scenarios. So I don't want to put examples here, because some of the responses are very private to people. So always make sure you give a room for your respondents' confidentiality. Some people in their questionnaire, they put the name of the respondent, mobile number, email ID. No, don't do that things. Because if you are trying to capture all these things, man, maybe I may not be interested to answer all these things. Typically, this happens when you give Google Forms to collect data. So some people, maybe I don't know whether it is purposefully or non-purposefully, if they don't know it, some people tick collect email ID. So if the respondent don't put the email ID, the respondent do not key in their telephone number, the data will not be captured, or the form cannot be submitted. So please make sure when you make your questionnaire, leave a space for the confidentiality of the respondent. Don't ask them their name. Maybe you can ask the age, there is no problem. Don't ask their name, don't ask for contact numbers and email IDs. It's not going to work for you, because the respondents may not be interested in your responding your questions. Next thing, avoid intrusive and sensitive questions. What is a sensitive question? If it is something related to politics, political bias, or financial crime, or maybe, it depends upon the type of research you are doing. So sometimes you may ask a question, do you watch, porn movies? No, it's all bad. Maybe your intention is something else. No, it's not good, actually. So don't put sensitive questions. Maybe if somebody watching other, they don't want to tell you that. So why you have to add such sensitive questions? I just mentioned an example. Then, to gain confidence of your respondent, you should clearly communicate to the respondent how this data is going to be used. So always give assurance that the data and the confidentiality of the respondent will be maintained, and ethically don't distribute that to others also. Sometimes some people do survey, and there may be a set of other category of people who may be interested in the data of your survey. So you give them, they will pay you money. Don't go for such things for the time being. And I always say, don't do like that unless and until you work for a marketing company, a research company, where the company appoints you to collect that. Otherwise, don't use this data to distribute to somebody for small amount of money or some benefits. It is not appropriate. Then, so what I told you, when we check or when we make a questionnaire, we have to make sure that your questionnaire has clarity, validity, and reliability, as well as it maintains confidentiality. So you can test all these things by a pilot testing. What is pilot testing? You make your questionnaire, go to a small sample of respondents in your population. Okay, it should be the respondents in your population. So, and you can check with them, are you understanding it properly? Whether you are going through it properly. So you can check with them. So once you try to get the response from them, you can identify any issues, any ambiguities in question wordings or response options. So even the question layout also, the questionnaire layout also, because there should be a sequence in which you should ask your respondent the way to answer. Don't make it abrupt like U-turns and zigzags. There should be a flow. I'll teach you that one once we start designing questionnaire for your micro research. So don't issue or don't start collecting data without doing a pilot testing. It should be a small number. So that should be the people, the respondents from your population. So we can check all these things. Yes, please. Yes, Betty. Betty?
Yes, doctor.
Can you please mute? If you have a question, you can ask, otherwise please mute. All right. Thank you. So what I'm saying, Those who join late, don't worry, this recording will be available to you. So don't issue, don't implement, don't install a data collection tool without pilot testing. It is a must. Now, whenever you collect data, please maintain ethical consideration. You know, in some of your research, you are working on the fraudulent transactions that is happening in banking system. Some of you are working with cyber security. Some of you are working with the details of domestic households when you talk about conventional energy uses. Some of you are working with complex data of some universities. So, you know, even you work with the marketing things of certain companies. So you have to consider all these ethical part. Use guidelines governing research conduct. So these all are available, but still, when you work with health data, when you work with data that are so much pertinent, please follow ethical considerations. If you found something, don't shout sensitive data. It's very important because ethical consideration. Then you get consent from the participants if you are going to reveal the data also. So certain researchers, health researchers, we need some consent from the participants. So these are some of the ethical considerations. So, you know, this will minimize risk and discomfort of your respondents. So what will happen if your respondent is comfortable and if your questionnaires are in a free flow, you know, you will get proper data. You'll get proper inputs from your respondent. And when you get proper inputs, when you get real inputs, that makes you real data and that makes you real data for your research. So it is very important. Ethical considerations we have to create. So these whole things, when you make, you can definitely ensure that there is a total voluntary participation from your respondent. There will be a smooth flow of data to you. So that's very important. Now, let me discuss to you what is the purpose of questionnaires and surveys, because that is also important. Those who are not muted, you can please mute so that I'll give you time to ask me questions. So you can ask me questions that time. So now I'm going to tell you what is the purpose of a questionnaire and survey. First, as I told you, data collection. First is to collect data. Why we collect data? Because we have aims, objectives, and we have set hypotheses, identifying your variables. So you are going to make what your research is going to achieve. For that, you need data. So you need hypothesis testing. Apart from that, you have to give descriptive analysis of the collected data. So you have to do that one. It can be a type, it can be of different type or some kind, it may be a program evaluation. You are using these questionnaires and surveys to evaluate your program. That can be a part of your study. Or do some needs assessment. What is it needs assessment? Suppose you are surveying a population. Does the population needs more education? Does they need more hygiene facilities or sanitation facilities? Does they need more food benefits? Or, you know, it depends. Does they need more education on, you know, financial education, how to manage finance? Do they need better language education? So in a certain community, maybe you are using questionnaire survey to get the needs assessment. So like you can identify gaps, challenges, some needs and priorities for a certain community or an organization or a target population. So for these things, we use questionnaires and surveys. So data collection, to work on the test hypothesis, doing a descriptive analysis, and all these things we need questionnaires. Now, why it is important? I'm going to tell it a different way, because when you make questionnaires, gives a standardization for your data collection. You can collect data in various methods, but if you collect data in a standardized way, in a systematic approach, so what will happen? Your data will be strong. Your data cleaning will be easy. And your data is going to give you better, powerful inputs for your processes. So standardization is important. And when you standardize your questions, definitely there will be consistency, because If you give to one person, 10 person, 100 people, no, the respondent settings will be same, and you get consistent input, and you can do better comparability for the data. So to do all these things, we use standard question formats, and we give proper response options. We validate our questionnaire, and we give proper instructions with less ambiguity for the respondents. We input maximum clarity. So that is why we need to create standardized questions. Don't make it as a row-tailored questionnaire that no, it will not help you to do proper data analysis. Maybe with that questions you can do research. It's not necessary that you have to follow a standardized format. You need data, but it won't be good. You'll have tough time when you work with. It's like making a house. It's good to have a plan before you make a house, then to have an architecture design before you construct your house. It is better to have a powerful financial estimation, the cost implications. So everything is important. Similarly, when you do your PhD, if you don't have a standardized questionnaire, your resource allocation will be more. The quality of data what you capture will be less. And if you have a proper standardized question, it will minimize bias. Because sometimes I've seen, almost all the questions, the respondent used to say satisfied, 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 satisfied. You cannot make a respondent to flow on the same route asking satisfaction only. You have to change the pattern. If you have 30 questions and 25 questions asked about satisfaction, the respondent will be in a monotonous thing. For the instant, the respondent is irritated during something happened in the current environment where he's trying to fill the answer. He may say, no, not satisfied, not satisfied, not satisfied. So don't make monotonous style of choices for doing your response when you make your questionnaire. Next thing, efficiency. What is efficiency? It's not only data efficiency. I've told you, when I was doing my research, I was traveling a stretch of 650 kilometers, I think in 3 to 4 months, maybe. I'm telling it again and again, on a motorbike and trying to collect my data. That time we don't have so much sophisticated methodologies and digital interfaces to collect data. This is the most cost incurring thing in your PhD research. So, it should be cost effective. How you can make it cost effective? Your data, you should have the facility to gather data from a large and diverse population. What is a diverse population? In your population, in your target population, when you make your sample, you should be able to include a target demography or target education sector. All these things you have to include. And to reach all these people physically, it's a bit hard. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. So, you have to ensure your questionnaires can be applied to multiple respondents using multiple platforms. That is more important, because you can use online survey platforms. Either you can use Google Forms, or Google Forms you can use, or else there are different applications like SurveyMonkey, and maybe paid survey options are there, as well as non-paid free options are also there. So you can use online survey platforms also to make your data works well for you. So rather than moving so much through physical, if you get the WhatsApp contacts, you can send people, you can use your social media to reach your target people. So many ways you can do it. So when you make your questionnaire, give option for the digital thing also. Don't only I'll just do paper, hard copies, and that all things. Now no need to do like that. So it is good if you are able to collect a large volume of data within a short time frame. It is good if you are able to collect a large volume of data in a short time frame. It is more important. This we call as efficiency. And overall efficiency, your data should be also good enough that it should be a proper one. If your data need to be proper, your questionnaires need to be, your survey questions need to be properly structured. Next one, flexibility. What is flexibility? You know, the various data collection methods what you use. Because when you do, some people, what they do, they just collect data for that particular research. So the horizon, anyway, you are going to a respondent. If you are studying about labor turnover, if you are studying about the performance of library, if you are studying about fraudulent transactions and how we can detect it using big data, or if you're talking about cybersecurity and its role in artificial intelligence. So, you know, when you collect data, don't skew so much, because sometimes we have to retailor our survey instruments. Maybe our specific research objectives may change, our population characteristics may change, maybe our data analysis may also change. So that time, your questionnaire, what you have administered, through which the data what you have collected, should have that flexibility to change the analytics, to maybe keep changing bit of the research objective. And you can do another research also, even if the population characteristics changes also. So don't make a questionnaire that is so rigid, just so focused only for the particular objectives. Give some wide horizons. Don't expand too much, but if you provide flexibility, that is also an important part when you develop, because so that you can use a branching logic to accommodate diverse research needs. So like if I study about labor turnover and HRD practice, again I can move to forecast labor turnover, maybe with higher education. If I provide higher education to my staff at my workplace, whether they will retain with me. So, you know, you can branch to accommodate diverse research needs. That is called as flexibility for the questionnaire. Now, accessibility. That is the next one. I think this is a bit repetition of what I told you before. Your questionnaire should be accessible to a wide range of respondents. Like if you print 300 questionnaire and you just only collect from 300 respondents. But if you have, you should have the facility to go to different backgrounds. Maybe some of your respondents may be highly qualified. Some people may be at different geographical locations, maybe a different demographic view, like age-old people, very young stage. So you have to make sure that what you input through the questionnaire should be accessible to others, and it can be administered through various modes, like paper-based, online, telephone interviews. These whole things happens because sometimes you are talking to somebody, your respondent doesn't have a digital facility, they may have a phone. So you can talk to them phone and help to take the answers, get the response. So it is good, even telephone interviews will work on that one. So that is called as accessibility. Or the same thing you can go with face-to-face interviews also. That's what we call as accessibility. So the purpose, you can reach a large diverse population. So that comes with accessibility. Then scalability. So it should have, as I told, it can be used for small research. It should be scalable. It can be for small projects. It can be for a large survey, or it can be even conducted in national or international. It's a bit complicated. When you want to make a scalable questionnaire, it becomes not so easy, it becomes so bit complicated. But for the time being, I don't want you to do it for the time being for your micro research or PhD, but at least you should have some knowledge. Your questionnaire should be scalable. It can go to a large volume. It can go to a large volume, or it can take data for a small research also. That is called a scalability. So you can scale up or you can scale down your survey design. Sample size more, sample size less, more population, the size of the population can increase. All right. Then, so, the sampling strategy will change, data collection procedures will change, because if you are going for, ender-staffing or intercontinental research, so then the data collection procedures will change. It will be either through some agencies. You can use some agencies to collect your data. You give your data, these agencies will do your work and they will collect the data. Some voluntary organizations to work for the financial income for their voluntary activities, they do this kind of surveys. Because I've seen when I was in UK, I can see this kind of survey people who work for voluntary organizations like Oxfam and some other people, they do all these kind of surveys in the city center. So you can appoint some people to collect your data, but ultimately your questionnaire should be proper. Otherwise, there is no point of collecting that. So if you have a scalable questionnaire, it can accommodate a different research context and objective. That is more important. But I don't know how this is going to help you now. Now, we are going to see when you formulate your questionnaire, when you structure your questionnaire, you have to give importance to your research objectives, your hypothesis, your variables. So we are going to discuss that. Next session, this one, we are going to discuss on that. So now, if you have some questions, please, you can ask me now. If you have some questions, you can ask me now, up to now. Or can I continue? You just let me know. Yes, please.
I think you can continue.
I can continue.
Maybe.
Okay, thank you very much, every one of you, Moses, James, Ronald, Betty, George, Vincent, and Andrew for joining. I hope it is okay for you. We'll go like this. Is that okay, Moses? James?
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes. I'm asking you, is that okay? We go in the same manner with the workshop. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. We go in the same manner, but I have a question.
Yes, please.
Now, as for me, I'm doing in cybersecurity, but cryptography.
Mm-hmm.
Can I make my survey through what the groups like cryptographic groups that are out of Uganda?
Mm-hmm. Now,
because
yes,
in Uganda.
Yes. Okay. You keep asking. Sorry to interfere. You ask. Yes.
Because in Uganda, I say I'll have less respondents, so I would wish to use the groups I'm in that I've subscribed to, like cryptography and triple IE. So is it okay?
Now, that was the purpose of this seminar. Now,
Okay.
see, certain micro researchers or certain researchers, your data may be available in certain areas. So what you have to do, you have to redefine the horizon of your research. Are we together? So now
yes,
you are getting for data collection. If you use these facilities, you can increase the scope of your research, isn't it? The horizon of your research.
Okay.
So that is why I'm making certain things will help you. Now, I'm glad that you got an understanding if you have proper questionnaire, which can be scalable and which can be administered in multi-models. So it is easy for you to fetch data, isn't it? But please make sure that you collect the data based on the scope of your research, isn't it? Scope of your research. But it is a good option for you. I think Vincent want to ask me something. Vincent, I think you are driving, or how it is like. Vincent, you are okay. So if no questions, can I proceed? All right. So if you need a break, you let me know. Otherwise, we'll conclude in like 20, 25 minutes. All right. So now I'm going to talk to you how your objectives and your hypotheses are going to affect structuring your questionnaire and how to formulate it. Oh, my dear, what happened? So, your research has a research question. Then it comes with a research objective. You will identify the research variables, independent, dependent, intervening. You identify a lot of variables. Then you set your hypothesis. So once you set all these things, to do this work and test the hypothesis, to do your descriptive analysis, you need a guiding research process in how you're going to do the research process. And so this will help you too, because without a research process, without that systematic research model and research design, you cannot do your research. So you focus all your research efforts and all your hardships on doing all these things. Now the time comes to collect the data. Now, don't worry, I'm not only talking about social science research, this is also, data is also applicable to all kinds of research, that is IT and physical science research. But the way we do the survey, the way we collect the data will be different. But the process will be same. The process will be same. If you are doing some test inside a chemical laboratory, maybe you are getting the data in a different way. Still, you are collecting the data. So there will be a sequence in which you have to collect the data. There will be a set of charts and tables through which you have to take different parameters of the test and outcomes of the test. If you are working with an immunology and a virology research, again, all these parameters will be utilized, but it may not be like you are not going to ask somebody, but you are visually seeing, witnessing the results of the research, and you are inputting the parameters. Okay. So then it provides a framework for analysis, because your research variable, their relations, the hypothesis what you have made, and your research objectives based on your research question. So based on all these things, you are making your framework for analysis, what you're going to prove, what you're going to agree, or what you're going to try to disagree. Because in previous sessions, we have seen how we test an hypothesis. We have seen that. So based on this framework for analysis, now you are going to communicate to your stakeholders. Who are your stakeholders? Suppose you are doing a PhD in a university, first stakeholder, your PhD appraisal team. Maybe the second one, this research can be again brought forward to a next funded research. If you are doing a funded research, so your stakeholders keep on changing, or depending upon the kind of research you do, you have stakeholders. Maybe the government, the regulators, so all these people. So if we have a proper systematic mode of developing your questionnaire, this builds up rapport, this builds up collaboration, and you can effectively communicate with your stakeholders. So in the case, George is going to a university, I'm going to ask, I need to get some feedback on the use of IT inclusion in the libraries. So maybe they may get a question mark in front of him. Hey, why you need this? So, if you can typically tell, this is the purpose, this is what I'm going to do, this will increase effective collaboration and communication. So that is more important. Maybe when you do a research in a university, if you ask a question, what is your revenue per year or per month? It is not significant up there. You may be thinking that the university is getting 10 million revenue, then why they can invest 10% for IT? You may be thinking that one, but it is not good to ask the revenue, what is happening. That will raise an eyebrow. A question will come, then you will not get an access to get the data. So it is very important when you define your questionnaire, you have to mention all these things. You have to keep in mind. Is anything you want to ask? Anybody? Are you all okay? Okay, all right. So what I'm saying, when you develop your questionnaire, it has a lot of significance on your research objectives, your research process, and your total effort, the framework for analysis, how to communicate, and how you're going to justify all these things. So it is very important. Your questionnaire forms an important part. Now, quickly, I'm going to give a small sample research, a case study on public universities. I put in a city, in a country. I don't want to put any city name because let's make it neutral. So what I'm saying, I'm going to study on the inclusion of IT in public universities, a case study. Now, I'm setting my research objectives. Before you make your questionnaire, you should have minimum these things. I set my research objectives. So my first objective is to assess the current state of library facilities and services in a public university in a certain city, in a certain country. Then to explore the role of information technology in improving access to library resources and services to students, to examine the impact of IT-enabled initiatives on student satisfaction with library facilities and resources. I put one more, to identify challenges and barriers to effective integration of IT in library service within public units. So I put 5 research objectives. Based on these research objectives, or one more is the purpose and recommendation, because I have to give some recommendations since it's a public thing to the decision makers, policy makers, how IT inclusion will help. So I put my research objectives first. Then I put my hypothesis. Like I have two hypotheses. Sorry, it came in a different way. My first hypothesis, the public university in a city, say Kampala, that have implemented IT-enabled library services will experience higher level of student engagement and satisfaction. And I put a null hypothesis for that. There is no significant difference in student satisfaction levels. Because, nowadays students are more on digital, so I don't know whether they are going to include go and read physical books. Now, I put another hypothesis, IT-based library initiatives such as online catalog systems, digital repositories, and virtual reference service will increase the accessibility and usability of library resources by students. Now, if you look at these things, I have a specific objective, certain hypothesis to be tested. Now, I have to use proper questionnaire to fetch this data. So what all things mentioned here, that all need to be fetched when I do my questionnaire to collect the data. So that is why when I do my research design, for this particular research, I can use mixed methods approach. I can use quantitative surveys and qualitative interviews with students, librarians, and university administrators, because these people will know to get the student satisfaction, definitely you have to talk to students. Librarians will know the volume of students who are using library. University administrators and faculty members will be able to give you whether the students are using library properly or not. Then you can do quantitative survey to collect data on the IT services, how many IT facilities they have, and different level of satisfaction, everything. You can do that one. You can do qualitative interviews to get the to understand the challenges faced, the benefits, implications. So, your research design will help you what you're going to extract. Your research design will help you to get what you're going to extract. So after this research design, you need to do a data analysis that includes descriptive analysis, correlation analysis, and any kind of thematic analysis and visualizations and patterns to identify patterns, trends, and relationships which you want to explore in your research. So what I'm telling you, when you think of a research, you should have your objectives, your hypotheses, your research design. And definitely you should have a theoretical framework, because your theoretical framework of research forms all these things. Because at the beginning, you have a research question with you. Once you had the research question, what you have done, now you start exploring for the relevant knowledge, that is your review of literature. Then you identify gaps. Sorry. Then you identify the gaps. Then you are going to start the first step of your research, formulating your objectives and setting your hypothesis. So a research design is a must. Then only you can start thinking of doing your questionnaire. So what I am telling you, when you design your questionnaire, all the things just before the questionnaire and what you are going to do after the questionnaire have significant importance. Because what all things you've done before developing the questionnaire has to be implicated on the questionnaire what you do. And after developing the questionnaire, when you implement the questionnaire, when you collect data using the questionnaire, your entire research, descriptive analysis, and your hypothesis testing, what you're going to prove or disapprove, everything will depend upon the data that you collected using your questionnaire. So we have to put a lot of emphasis and importance in aligning the questionnaire items with your research objectives. And almost all researchers, what we observe, objectives relates to hypothesis, and in between comes the variables. So if you set this properly, your questionnaire will have relevance and validity. Your questionnaire will have consistency and coherence, which means to the number, to a small number, big number, multiple target populations, anywhere, it will work properly, it will be efficient, it will have resource optimization. I told what is a resource optimization when you collect data, and if you have an effective tool an effective tool definitely is going to help you a lot. Then it will help you to your interpretation analysis in a better, enhanced way, and it will create a greater research impact. So when you have greater research impact, that makes lots for your research. That's what we are going to get in your life, isn't it? Now we are coming to the next part. That is types of questions. I hope I can continue with you. Is that okay? Now I need 15 minutes. Is that okay? Do you need a break?
No, let's continue.
All right. Now we are going to see the types of questions. One is closed-ended questions. Sometimes people know what is a closed-ended question. Maybe technically we know it is easy to understand, but we have to identify the important points. What is a closed-ended question? It has predefined response options because we give multiple choice for the response. Multiple choices. So it has predefined response. The respondent cannot make things of their own. That is closed-ended questions. It can come with yes or no or rating scales. And it is structured and easy to analyze. That's a good thing with the closed-ended question. Now you may ask me where we use this one. This we use for collecting quantitative data. It is good for collecting quantitative data. Even you can collect qualitative data, but it has to be converted into a scale before you administer that. So it is effective for measuring attitudes, preferences, behaviors, and demographic information like the category of age and all these things we can use closed-ended questions. Next is called as open-ended questions. What is open-ended questions? We give some opportunity for the respondent to give us more insights. There is a free form of response. We don't have any predetermined options, or we don't put any constraints on the response. Where we use this one, because we know certain cases, the respondents have significant information than the target population. They are also a part of the target population. So like when I was doing my research on the labor turnover in the hotel industry, I give a space for open-ended questions for HR managers. Because as I told you before, when I reached a hotel, I seen a HR manager, the recruiting manager, keeps a folio, a notebook, one side the people who recruited for the day, and the other side the people who are leaving for the day. And so you are getting some kind of insights and information because these are the people who are the frontline forerunners who may be executing certain things which are very relevant to your research, that gives you strong information which are very relevant. So to such people, you have to use open-ended questions. To such people. So like if you're working on university library, the pertinent maybe the librarians can give you more insights. Some faculty members can give you more insights. So that cases we use open-ended questions. So we don't give any constraints. And we will encourage the respondent to put their thoughts, feelings, and their knowledge and what they identify in that much more. Sometimes you can see in some interviews, we can feel it more because, the interviewer asks the question, and, the person who is giving information is be able to give the best information. So that is why we give open-ended questions. So, and it helps to get valuable things to explore complex issues. And it gives a good amount of good qualitative data, and it gives new insights to your research. Maybe if you take any of your research also, sometimes, as you know, as you move through your research, you get valuable such insights. Not from everyone. So even not from everyone, you can categorize your respondents also to which kind of people you can apply this. Which kind of people you can apply this. Excuse me. If you are not talking to me, you can mute, please. If you are not talking to me, please mute. Thank you. So this will help us. These open-ended questions will help us to add more insights. There is another one is called as Likert scale questions. So it is to measure the strength of agreement or disagreement, and we use standard scales. I'll take another session on you how to develop questionnaires on this and how to validate. We can get validated Likert scale questions, or you have to develop questions, make the scales, and we have to validate. So it is better if you can buy standardized questions, or you can use standardized questions. or you can develop and standard. We'll do it on a different class. Then, so like we say, feelings, strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. So such kind of questions we can use Likert scales, and that gives us a granularity of the attitude. You know, if you systematically use this kind of scaled questions, we will literally get, we can measure attitude, we'll get the perception, and we'll get opinions also. This kind of questions are Likert scale questions. Then is called as dichotomous questions. Very thing, two things. Say like only two responses available for the responder. Only two responses: yes or no, true or false. Like that. These are called as dichotomous kind of questions. So these are straightforward questions. Sometimes they help us to evaluate a hypothesis in a better way. And this we use for commonly for screening purpose, for decision making. So hypothesis testing and all these kind of questions help us. Not only this one, I'm telling you, this all will help us. Okay. So the last one is called as ranking question. Not last one, second last one is called as ranking questions. So here, the respondents can prioritize ranks 1, 2, 3 according to their preference, importance, their likes. So such things we use ranking questions. We'll come up with some examples. So these questions give, what all areas we need to prioritize. Suppose if you're studying about a community, and if you ask the community members, the population, the sample, you are asking, which is your primary need? So some people say it is drinking water. Some people, sanitary things. Some people, we need good road facility. We need some schools. We need health facilities. So, this kind of rankings you can do. So it will help us to get options. Then we can do comparisons and make ideal decision making. The one is called as semantic differential questions. Semantic differential questions, I don't know how many of you think that one, because we do a bipolar kind of questions from a low feeling to a hard feeling. Look at here, because we say from happiness to sadness, and put the way in which what we do from a low end to another end. So you can see both poles, positive pole and negative pole. So we can ask the respondent to put which quantum, which level they are going to make their response. They are called as bipolar adjective pairs, like happy, sad. It's a bipolar adjective pair. Satisfied, unsatisfied. So here the respondents indicate their perception based on opposite poles, an extreme pole on good side, bad side. So like that, you look at this one, you look at this question. I'm putting a sample question here. Please indicate your perception of the usability of online shopping platform on the following dimensions. So we are going to ask the respondent, how you feel about the online shopping platform. So we give the response options. One is easy to navigate, difficult to navigate. You look at here, it is bipolar. One side it is easy, the other side is difficult. Then if you look at the user interface, one side it is attractive design, other side is unappealing design. So these are semantic differential questions. Maybe in our research we are going to discuss this one. This is another type of questions. So up to now, what we have discussed is how we are going to craft some questionnaires, how we can craft questionnaires for research. Now, in 10 minutes, next 10 minutes, I'm going to get you a sample research. And based on that sample research, we are going to work on. We are going to work on how to make questionnaires. So I just posted my screen now. Up to now, any questions you can ask me so that I will answer your questions. All right. I hope everyone is around. If you have no questions,
we're here, Prof.
Okay. So if
I have no questions.
Oh, all right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share my screen, a Word file. You have to tell me, can you see it properly? All right. Can you all see it properly? I post to my screen sharing. Your screen sharing. I am resuming my screen share. 1 second. Can you see my screen now? Can you see a Word file which says semantic differential questions?
No, I don't see that.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Let me stop sharing. Let me do a new screen share. I share what? Okay, I shared this one. All right. Now, can you see?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now, we are going to a sample research. Don't worry about what is here now. I'm going to go to that sample research. Let me take my sample research because already I wrote a book on how to do questionnaires. So, all right. Can you read what is mentioned here? I'm doing a sample research that is with the title Exploring Customer Satisfaction. Exploring customer satisfaction among online shopping platforms, a case study of e-commerce usage in urban areas. Are you clear with the title? Can you read the title? Oh man, it's going bigger. All right. So what I'm going to do, when I fix my title, before I make questions, I do my research objectives. I'm not going to go deep into that. I'm just telling you, I made my research title, I done my review of literature, everything. I set my objectives, and then I put my hypothesis and everything. Now, when I frame my questionnaire, I always go into my research objectives. So we are going to see the different sections of your questionnaire. Your questionnaire, the first section can be an introductory section. If you're using a digital platform or non-digital platform, you can give an introductory section which you give a welcome message. Thank you for participating in the study, what you have to mention, your feedback, everything. Then you have to explain what is the purpose of this study, and you have to give the confidentiality assurance. Then you make the instructions. So the introductory section, you give welcome message, brief explanation about your research, and that all gives assurance for respondent. Then you try to get the demographic information. It is left to you. This is the normal pattern, but you can keep on changing because this I'm doing based on the study what I'm doing here. So you can ask about the demographics like age, gender, education level, income, frequency of online shopping. Then, so that is what. Then you can ask about, when in this research, when I do this research, exploring customer satisfaction, as per my hypothesis, I have to look into my variables, and one is overall satisfaction. So in this question, I'm trying to get a respondent who is doing online shopping experience. I'm trying to extract the overall satisfaction of the customer, overall satisfaction. So to make that one, I'm using a closed-end question. So what is closed-end questions? You give multiple choice options for the respondent, and the respondent has to fix themselves either in one of these options. So I'm asking a question, how satisfied you are with the overall experience using online shopping platform? So, the respondent can be very satisfied or very dissatisfied. Some people go neutral. Sometimes people ask, why you have to give this neutral? What does it mean? Because, we always look from the side of dissatisfaction to high satisfaction. Some people, they are okay. Me, if you take me, I don't do much of online shopping, but I don't have any hesitations to do online shopping, isn't it? So I'm a kind of a neutral person, isn't it? So I will fix into that one. But you can see people who only buy online. You can see other kind of people, they may have a bad experience or they don't want to buy it, isn't it? So that is the satisfaction, because due to certain situations, they don't like buying things, some experience. Now I'm going to look into factors influencing satisfaction. So what I'm going to do here, okay, the factors influencing satisfaction. So I want to extract why people like satisfaction. And you have to know one thing. When I make this question, if somebody who is not at all satisfied with online shopping, I don't know how much this question will be relevant. Because I'm not buying, I'm not satisfied. So then why you have to ask me? So you have to avoid that for that person, you have to stop. So here the question comes, if I'm a person who is satisfied, so why I'm satisfied? Then you can ask the respondent an open-ended close question. Please rate the following factors and terms of the importance of your satisfaction. Why you are satisfied? Maybe product variety, price, website usability, delivery speed, customer service and quality. Because now if I want to go to a supermarket to buy something, now what I have to do to take my car, and to go with my car, I need fuel. Maybe I have to change my dress if I wish to be a decent man. Then if I go to the supermarket, they may have some parking charges. If I am not able to find a space to park, then I have to ensure I have a chauffeur driver to park my car. Now, when I do my shopping, I find something, okay, I'll go to a restaurant, have some food in the shopping area. You know, expense is more for me when I go to home. So, you know, there are many reasons for that one. So you can ask like that. For that, you can put the options, what do you like? Because here price is mentioned, convenience is not mentioned here. So it is left to you when you frame a question, you have to identify which all variables you are trying to extract and how your dependent variable is associated with your independent variable. How, what kind of relation is there? So based on that all, we have to frame the question. Now I'm asking another question. Look at this another question, a semantic question. I'm asking them, what is your perception about the usability of the online platform? Easy to navigate, difficult to navigate. Attractive design, not attractive. So these are some kind of open-ended questions. But one thing I'll tell you, hypotheses, objectives, these all are very important when you structure your questionnaire. Because when you structure your questionnaire, all these have so much importance. Because don't make questions just because you are making a question. That is very important. Don't make questions just because you want to extract that. You have to identify one thing, because when you work with your questions, it is very important that your hypothesis is very important. Your hypothesis is very important. So because the objectives, hypothesis, variable. So you have to use your research objectives and you have to use your hypothesis, because, you know, based on this only you are going to do your study. So when you develop your questionnaire, when you structure your questionnaire, you have to formulate questions based on the hypothesis what you're going to be tested. You have to check whether you need closed-end questions, you need Likert scale questions. Ultimately, we have to make sure the data collected is meaningful and aligned to research. So what I've done here, based on all these things, I made a questionnaire, I made the hypothesis, I made, see, if you look at this research question, research paper, what I'm proposing about the customer satisfaction of e-commerce users, I made my research objectives before I do my questionnaire, okay? Then I made my hypothesis. Then I have to find my variables. I've made my research variables. Then based on that, I started making a question. So now, if you look at here, this question, it may be related for some activity. This is essential for hypothesis one. How easy to find, navigate through different sections of online shopping website. This is very important, because what is my hypothesis one? Is there a positive relationship relation between perceived usability of online shopping platform. So you can identify in this hypothesis one, we need one data. Why? People use online, whether it is just because whether it is because of the comfort using the online thing. So when you design a questionnaire, please make sure the questionnaire should be able to give you the data for testing your hypothesis, reaching your objectives. That's all very important. So like that, I developed the questionnaire and I'll share with you all these questions with you. And ultimately for this research, I have made 20 questions. You see, and you can see the structure of my questionnaire first. Look at here. So this is a sample questionnaire. Now, I'm going to communicate with my questions. And when I make my question, I make sure the usability of the questionnaire. So in the usability, one is perceived use. I have different sections for my question. Like you do the review of literature, when you make the questionnaire, you should have different breakups. That is good. That is the best thing. Based on your study, based on your objectives, based on the title, based on the hypothesis, you can break up your questionnaires into sections and subsections. So one section is perceived usability, one is product variety, the other one is demographic factors, the other one is customer satisfaction. Now, from this, I'm going to develop my questions. I hope you're getting me. Like we have done the review of literature breakup, a framework, when you make the questionnaire also, you can have this kind of breakup on sections and subsections. So this will help you better. Now, if you look at my first section, perceived usability, I made some questions. This is one kind of question. Since it is an example, I will use only one question. How would you rate the ease of navigation? Now, another one, in website attractiveness, mobile accessibility. Now I can go another one, product variety. So to sum up, what I'm telling you, I'm stopping sharing my screen. What I'm telling you is that one, in research, when you do research, you should know how to create your questionnaire. The questionnaire creation is very, very important. It is very, very important because it is the major part of your research. What all things you do, if you don't have a proper tool to collect your data, all your research, man, it will end up in nothing. So this is what I want to tell you, because this workshop, how to develop, how to structure, how to make a question, we have not done fully of that one. We have done only halfway of that. So that's all I conclude. But if you have questions, you can ask me, please. Any questions you can ask me. Otherwise, I will upload this video so that you can go through and you can ask me. Yes, Betty, Okulo, Ronald, James, George, Moses, Lindsay, Ronald has gone. Okay. So anything you want to tell me or anything you ask me?
Yes. This is George. You're going to share this on the WhatsApp group?
Yeah, I'm going to share. I will upload this on a YouTube and I will send the link to you so that you can.
Okay. Yes, I was going to propose YouTube would be better.
Yeah. Now, if you all can, I want to know one more thing. I want to get a feedback. How you feel about this one? Is it a good one?
This was very useful, and at least now we know how we can relate the questions and the hypothesis to the questionnaire design and development. At least now we can break up the parts and then we get moving.
Yes.
And thank you so much.
Yeah, Vincent, anything if you want to tell, you can tell. But I really appreciate you. if you people haven't come, I cannot do this, isn't it? In fact, I took time to prepare for this, but I thought if I teach you in the next session, it takes a lot of time, isn't it? In fact, we started at 4 o'clock. Now the time is exactly at 5 o'clock. But when we do in the lecture room, it takes more time. So I thank you all for your participation. My wonderful PhD research scholars, I love you all. Thank you, Moses. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, James. Thank you, Ronald. Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Andrew and George, because, this is our researchers' life, understanding things. As we go through in different dimensions, our understandings will be better, better, and better. So I'm Dr. Paul signing off. Thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for attending. Thank you, James. Thank you, James. Thank you, Moses. Thank you, Moses. Thank you very much. So can I end the session? Can I end the session? Yes. I'm going to end the session. Thank you, James. Thank you, Betty. Thank you very much. Thanks from Kampala. Thank you. Bye-bye.